kick off the meeting, guys. And perhaps other friends will join us as we go. Kirk, do you know if Maria was going to join us today, or Maria and Ryan possibly?
I had not heard.
Okay.
I did not get any notice that there were. I would anticipate Ryan is not. I think we gave him his farewell, but I have not heard from Maria.
Yeah. Yep. All right, that's fair. I was going to maybe have them go first, but maybe they'll get here, or Maria will arrive later. No biggie if she can't. All right, everybody. So let us call to order the regular meeting of the Nashoba Regional School Committee at 6:02 p.m. on 5/27/2026. If you would like to, you can join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we are going to be heading into executive session right off the bat here. We'll come back into the public session from that executive session. We are entering into executive session for two different purposes, so you guys can all bear with me as I read through this motion. So I move to enter into executive session at 6:03 p.m. pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and I, as your chair, do so declare. This will be for both Unit A and Unit C collective bargaining. Session A to include the school committee, Superintendent Downing, Assistant Superintendent Ross Mulcurran, Assistant Superintendent Laura Friend, Director of Student Services Roanne Demonch, and Director of Human Resources Jessica Murdoch, with also attorney Mike Maccaro being available by phone if need be. And we will also go into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel, the Superintendent of Schools. Session B to include the school committee and Superintendent Downing. We will reconvene to open session at the conclusion of the executive sessions. Do I have a second?
Second.
I think Jackie got it. Thank you, guys. Any discussion on the motion? All right, so we're going to go around. Jackie?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Matt?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Robin?
Yes.
Sharon?
Yes.
Shondor?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And Lindsay?
Yes.
I think I got everybody. And I am the host now. Thank you. As we march on past executive session, the next item here is public comment. We are running a little bit behind, so I'm just going to give a gentle reminder to all of our guests that we should be concise in our presentations. If you don't mind, I will try to do the same. We have no public comment that has been registered with me this evening, so we're going to move right ahead with the consent agenda. It is a longer one. Is anybody looking to pull anything out of the consent agenda? All right, I'm not seeing anyone trying to do that. So Amy, do you have the motions? Go for it. Whenever you want to unmute.
Okay, I move to approve the consent agenda of May 27th, 2026.
I will second that. So any further discussion? All right, Amy?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Sharon? Matt?
Yes.
I saw Sharon's thumbs up, by the way. Robin? Thumbs up. Shondor?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And scanning Lindsay?
Yes.
Jackie?
Yes.
All right, did I miss anybody? I don't think so. Okay, we have a lot of people on the Zoom tonight. It's fun. So moving on with the agenda, the next item here is the school committee chair update. There is just one thing that I wanted to share with the committee and with all of our viewers. We, at our last meeting in person, were able to celebrate the members of our committee who are rolling off. This is their last meeting. So one more time, I just want to say thank you to John, to Jackie, and to Amy for all of their fantastic service. We are going to really miss you guys. We really appreciate everything that you've done for us. And I know that we all were happy to give you some gifts at our last meeting. And Amy, I dropped yours off on your front porch. And so I hope you guys are enjoying that. But Amy, I didn't really get to say much about you and your service because I wanted to wait until you were here. And so if you guys will indulge me for just a moment, I would like to say the following words in honor of Amy Cohen and her amazing service to the Nashoba School Committee. Amy, you have served on the Nashoba School Committee for 6 years now. Can you believe it? I remember the first meeting you came in. It was one of the first virtual meetings we had during the COVID pandemic in 2020, I believe. And you were one of 3 new members, including Sharon and one other who's no longer on the committee. But throughout your tenure, our district has definitely faced some challenges and we've celebrated many successes. But through it all, Amy, you've been a steadfast and really tireless champion of the educational mission of the district, and that is to serve all the Nashoba kids to the best of our ability. You're not here for your kids alone, which is what I've always found so fantastic, is that you're here for all kids. I feel like you really are focused on all the kids. So you are incredibly thoughtful. You're super reflective. You work hard. You never shy away from a problem. You're always willing to seek solutions until you find them. You build consensus, you are unassuming, and you always maintain high standards and you set high expectations for all of us. So there is absolutely no doubt in my mind, I hope there's none in yours, that you've made a huge difference here at Nashoba, pushing us all to be better. And so I want you to know that we've all benefited from you being here on this committee, donating all of your time and your energy. And we thank you for your partnership. And I would like to personally say that I thank you for your friendship.
Thank you, Leah. That was, I promised myself I wasn't going to get emotional, but that was really very sweet. And I have to tell you guys that this has really been the honor of my life. I mean, to serve my community. I've learned so much from each of you. I joined the committee to make sure that a parent's voice was represented and the decisions that were being made at the district. But I came away with so much more empathy for how difficult it is to meet the needs of students, parents, teachers, employees within all of the constraints that we're working under. So, like, from the bottom of my heart, thanks to all of you, and I will miss you all. So, thank you.
Thanks, Amy. Please do not be a stranger, all of you, John, Jackie, and Amy. We really thank you for your service. And I will tell you guys that I've met with 2 of the incoming members for orientation already. I know that Kirk has met with 2 of them. The 3rd member is also has his meeting set up with Kirk to introduce himself. And I hope to also have that orientation as well. There's one other thing that I'll remind everybody of. There are a couple of charting the courses coming up in the next month. And within your first year of service, you do need to complete that task. So if you need any help with it, let me know. Those are upcoming. If you're super brand new, then you do have a full year to complete them, although it's always useful to front load that so that you understand the job. So, all right, well, moving on. Amy, I know you're never far, and Jackie and John, you too. If, we ever need you, we won't hesitate. So the student representative report is next, but I don't think our students were asked to be here tonight. And this is a very busy time of year. So correct me if I'm wrong. I think that the student rep is not here. Maria's not here.
That's correct.
Totally fine. So hopefully, Kate, we look forward to seeing Maria at the next meeting and maybe our new rep who is going to be joining Maria.
I have 2 candidates. So yes, absolutely. And then elections are next week. So we will have someone for the, yeah, very exciting.
That's awesome. Okay, so let's move the agenda now to the superintendent's report, and I'll turn it right over to Kirk.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And if I may entertain a suggestion with you, is that we have a lot of guests here tonight, and I know our opening session took a little bit. I'm happy to take our elements of the superintendent's report after the presentations tonight. There's only one person appearing that's on the superintendent report, and that's Ms. Hannigan. So perhaps we could do her report and then move on to the presentations, and we'll complete the superintendent's report afterwards. I'm happy to step back if you would like me to do that.
Yeah, for sure. So you're recommending that we actually take up new business before the superintendent's report?
But we can have Ms. Hannigan give her portion of the superintendent report. Ms. Hannigan.
All right.
An element.
Got it. If there's no objection from the committee, I will proceed in that fashion.
Great.
All right. Seeing none. Do you want to go ahead with Ms. Hannigan first?
Yes, Ms. Hannigan, would you like to provide Ms. Hannigan is our communication specialist and innovation pathways coordinator, here to give you an update on our use of social media. So Ms. Hannigan.
Thank you, guys. I'm happy to be here tonight. I will keep my overview as brief as possible. We have developed an updated social media process that we are planning to implement beginning during the 2026-2027 school year. The main focus of this work is to better organize and support the district's existing social media accounts. These accounts are primarily based out of the high school, and they do a really great job of helping our local press and media highlight the student clubs and the athletic achievements of our students. So they're not anything we would want to get rid of, but we want to make sure that we are, just maintaining them the way that we should be. As part of this updated process, all existing district affiliated social media accounts will complete a registration process to ensure that we are maintaining accurate records and that we remain in compliance with state archiving requirements. This includes connecting accounts to Civic Plus, which is the district's archiving platform, to ensure that our social media content is appropriately retained and managed in accordance with the state regulations. The updated process also creates a more consistent procedure for establishing new social media accounts moving forward. The goal is to reduce the number of unauthorized or unofficial accounts by providing advisors and coaches and staff members a clear approval process. And under the new guidelines, any new social media accounts must receive approval from the building principal and the communication specialist before being created. Accounts should only be representing official school groups and activities or athletic teams, and all accounts must be created using district email addresses. In addition, the process establishes a clear system for updating, deleting, and removing accounts that are no longer active or are no longer being managed by a club, team, advisor, or coach. This is in an effort to help the district better manage the number of accounts associated with us so that we're ensuring that the publicly available information is as accurate, relevant, and up to date as possible. Finally, the updated guidelines really establish general expectations. So by creating account managers, we'll be able to explain, what the process is, how the district expects social media to be used in relation to information going out. So in short, this is really focused primarily on ensuring that our existing social media accounts are linked up to our archiving system so that we're able to continue to use them, but within state regulations. So if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
All right, great. Thanks so much for that. Are there any questions on these new guidelines? And I checked our policy manual. There's actually very limited structure built into the policy manual. Jackie, do you want to elaborate? Jackie,
I want to try. I want to try.
Yeah.
I do think that this could be something to review in the new year, understanding that this is more operational in nature, but wanting to make sure that we're crosswalking our current policy
Oh.
And that would be something that, I think policy would recommend for next year.
Yeah, thank you.
I did have a question as
Yep,
well.
Go for it.
So knowing that this is a fairly significant shift and that many of our students have on the back end managed some accounts, I'm just wondering, how are we supporting them through that process? Or at least, I guess, Bridget, you kind of touched upon that a little bit, but I'm just wondering, for accounts that have been primarily supported by students, with advisors maybe not necessarily being very active, like how would that look?
So I've worked with Principal Boynton and with Tanya Rich, our athletic director. We're working behind the scenes to develop some of what that would look like, depending on how many of these accounts come forward that have that issue. So it is, something that we're aware of and that we'll be working through as we start to implement this next year, because we want to make sure that clubs and athletic teams have representation and that we're able to find someone to help support that, or a program that allows that check to go through either myself or someone else in the building.
Thank you. That's super helpful.
Are there any other questions? All right, Bridget, thanks for this update. And Kirk, thanks for staying on top of this cutting edge topic.
Thank you. And the remainder of the report are all of us in attendance. So, Madam Chair, we would be happy to move behind new business if you would like to move the agenda along.
Yes. So let's leapfrog the rest of the superintendent's report. That's what you mean, right? And head over to new business, correct, Kirk? Yeah.
Correct.
All right, so the next presentation here is a change for our educator evaluation system. And Kirk, would you like to tee this up and maybe introduce some of your guests?
Yeah, we have two important guests to bring forward to you tonight. Assistant Superintendent Laura Friend, along with Kevin Keaveney, one of our educators and president of the NREA, to give you an update on the educator evaluation tool. This will need your support and ratification so that we can proceed next year with the new tool. So I'll turn it over to Assistant Superintendent Friend.
Thank you, Superintendent Downing, and thank you to the committee for allowing us the opportunity to bring forward updates to Nashoba's educator evaluation tools for consideration and approval. These updates and the work represented are presented in partnership with the Nashoba Regional Education Association and represent a lot of work that began a while ago in the fall of 2024, a lot of time and a lot of meetings. They were great meetings and they were productive meetings. The products truly reflect a strong collaborative effort between district leadership and the NREA, and a shared commitment to meaningful, supportive, relevant, and updated evaluation tools for our Nashoba educators. So on that note, I would like to publicly acknowledge and thank Mr. Kevin Keaveney for his leadership on behalf of the NREA and members of the Educator Evaluation Committee, whom I would like to acknowledge right now. It was a small but mighty committee, and those committee members include not only Mr. Keaveney, but Jennifer D'Entremont, Allison Rumbelow, Corey Cressman, Owen Murphy, Gary Kozlowski, Jessica Murdoch, Roanne DeManch, Kate Boynton, and Joel Bates. I would also like to thank Mr. Keaveney, Ms. Murdoch, Ms. DeManch, and Dr. Boynton for joining me not only with all of the Educator Evaluation Committee work, but to be present to share these updates for approval with the committee this evening. Specifically, our purpose is we are seeking school committee approval of 3 updated components of Nashoba's educator evaluation tools as required under Article 5 of the Unit A Collective Bargaining Agreement. The committee's materials for approval include Nashoba's adapted rubric for classroom teacher evaluation rubric dated 2026, the NRSD educator evaluation timelines revised in 2026, and the classroom educator focus elements also updated in 2026. And thank you to Ms. Masterson for sharing with you and presenting an executive summary, which is included in your packet, which really provides quite a bit of information. This evening, we're only going to be providing highlights of the most cogent updates. The updates presented before you not only require the school committee approval, but they also require ratification by the NREA. And we are pleased that Mr. Keaveney is here this evening to share an update about the ratification process before we begin. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Keaveney to provide an update about where we are with the ratification process with these updated tools.
Thank you, Assistant Superintendent Friend. And I have a lot of thanks to give to the district team that worked with us on the education evaluation tool. It did take us a few years to get it done, as they always do, but the work is worth it. It's very worthwhile. The idea of adapting what we have into what we have and create it with within our own culture makes it a very positive document for staff to work with on both sides of the evaluation process. The only big update that I want to give is that the NREA voted unanimously, Unit A members, to ratify the changes to the document. So the work, we were in conversations with members beforehand during the whole process, and it was a very easy vote to take. So I would encourage the school committee to look favorably upon this document, or the documents, the agreements that we made. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Keaveney. So with that, I'd like to just reinforce that the executive summary that is included in your packet outlines the full scope of the work relative to these 3 items. And it also includes hyperlinks to the updated tools as well as the current tools at the bottom of the document. So everything is in there for consideration. So as I had mentioned, we will be providing a high-level overview of each section of the executive summary. I can see that Alita is already there in the key changes section there in the executive summary. But before we dig in there, I just wanted to give a bit of background and overview of why we were here and why we embarked upon this work. In the fall of 2024, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education actually released an updated model classroom teacher rubric. This prompted all of this work and led Nashoba to reconvene its educator evaluation committee. The committee had last met in 2021 and reconvened again in 2024 when this new model rubric was released. Districts have the ability to adopt the rubric in full or adapt the rubric to meet the needs of both the indicators and the elements in the model rubric, and as Mr. Keaveney had said, to meet the requirements identified within a district. And that's what we decided to do as a committee, and has been our practice since the educator evaluation process and tools have been implemented from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Ed. So we are going to present just key changes relative to these 3 documents, beginning with our adapted rubric and the structure of the rubric. And this really reflects the most substantial work of the committee, and our work really centered in this space. We adapted the model rubric across all 4 standards to reflect current evidence-based, culturally and linguistically sustaining practices, ensuring that the rubric reflects where the field of education is today and more appropriately reflects the needs of our students. The rubric structure was also realigned to correspond with the reorganized 2024 DESE model format while preserving Nashoba's adapted language and district priorities. And then finally, alongside the rubric, rating language was revised across all performance levels. Specific highlights include exemplary descriptors are now more precise and more precisely capture what it looks like to go beyond proficiency, while unsatisfactory and needs improvement language was standardized and improved, for example, replacing language such as sometimes with inconsistent for greater clarity. The other document that we're seeking approval for from the committee is key changes to the evaluation timeline. The committee took a careful look not only at the rubric and its structure, but at the timeline and the evaluation timeline specifically. and made targeted adjustments based on feedback both from leadership and educators relative to our current timeline. One of the more meaningful shifts and recommendations and adjustments that was made was that formative and summative meetings, which are part of the educator evaluation process, are now positioned to occur before formal written reports and evaluations. This really works to center professional dialogue before documentation rather than the current practice, which is the other way around. As well, the educator record of evidence is also part of our evaluation process, has been streamlined into a continuous open form process, allowing educators to curate evidence organically throughout the year rather than in concentrated bursts around those formative and summative deadlines. And then finally, if you scroll down just a bit, Alita, is work around our focus elements. The NRC adapted rubric is big and it's comprehensive, just like the Massachusetts model rubric is large. It spans 28 elements across 4 standards. Since 2016, Nashoba has had an established practice of identifying a subset of those elements. These are called focus elements. They serve as the shared focus for observations, evidence collection, and professional conversations throughout the evaluation cycle. These focus elements are not a replacement for the rubric, and they are not a checklist. Instead, they are agreed upon elements that represent the most essential anchors of effective teaching practice, providing a common and manageable focus for meaningful dialogue between educators and evaluations. As such, the focus elements document has been reviewed and updated to align with the adapted rubric. A highlight here in this space is that high expectations and support is a new focus element in our 2026 update, which we believe is a meaningful shift from the previous focus element, which included quality of effort and work. And this update reflects a broader commitment on behalf of all of us to pair high expectations with equitable supports for all students who meet them. And then finally, ask Alita to scroll down a bit. The rubric in front of you for consideration for approval reflects only the classroom educator rubric. The Department of Elementary Secondary Education is currently piloting role-specific rubrics for specialized instructional support personnel. This includes not only special educators, but includes school psychologists, counselors, nurses, social workers, and librarians. And we are recommending, in collaboration with the committee, that Nashoba defer any updates to our CISP rubric and tools until that piloting process is complete, which we understand will be complete this summer. So with that, next steps include, with approval by the committee, implementation planning and professional development to support our educators and evaluators in using these updated tools, and then continued monitoring of the DESE CISP piloting process with a working group to follow. And I know Ms. Demanch will be a key player in working through those tools as it relates to our specialized instructional support personnel as we move forward. And that is the update. I would like to turn it over, if I may, quickly to Mr. Kevin Keaveney or to members of our committee who joined us tonight to see if there's anything that I may have missed, which is highly possible.
I will say, Assistant Superintendent Friend, you are thorough as always. So I thank you for that. And that was a wonderful presentation. So I didn't notice anything. I think you're good. I think we're good.
Thank you, Kevin.
Fantastic. Thank you, everybody. We really appreciate that hard work. I know that that's an evolving but really important process. I wonder what you need from us specifically. Are you looking for us to also take a vote on this evening, or is this something, Kirk, that we're putting off until the 10th?
We need to have this in place for the next school year, so we can be happy to include this in the consent agenda for our next meeting. and it can be handled that way.
That would be great. Are there any questions from the committee? Any feedback? Amy.
Yeah, I just had a question about the focus elements. So did you choose a focus element from each of the indicator categories? Was that the approach, or
Yes.
was it just, okay.
Yes, we chose elements from each of the 4 indicators. And those, Ms. Cohen, those documents are up at the top of the executive summary. The 3 documents for approval are reflected as hyperlinks up at the top of the executive summary.
Yeah, I'm going through them, and I was just trying to understand how the focus elements were chosen, but and whether you chose them from all 4 standards, and I do see that you did, but there are some indicator categories that didn't get captured, and I was trying to figure out why.
I would add that the focus elements do not replace the educator evaluation rubric. They really are intended to provide a focus for dialogue, evidence collection, and look-fors in classrooms. But the rubric itself in its entirety still plays an important part in our educator evaluation process. The focus elements really provide a more focused flashlight, if you will, on the dialogue and the look-fors in classrooms.
Okay, great, thank you.
Laura, did any of the focus indicators this time around, other than the one that's about high expectations, were all the other ones? I know that a lot of the language was changed, but is there like a substantive shift in your focus indicators?
I don't know if anyone from the committee wants to respond to the question. I'm going to stop speaking to allow members of the committee to respond.
Yeah, feel free to jump in, anyone. I can't actually see everyone, so if your hand is up, just jump in. I think I'm just wondering, maybe from the educators themselves, if they feel like, because in my cursory look through them, it feels like you did capture all of the most important things. That's like the trick, is looking at all of the many indicators that exist and then picking like the highest leverage 8 or 9 that, like, you know, like, for example, meeting students with diverse needs is one of them that was not chosen. But then there was one, the one following it actually speaks to many of the same things that indicator addressed. And so I think what you did choose kind of captures everything, but if you guys want to add anything to that, please feel free. Yeah, Kevin.
Thank you, Leah. We also had focus elements in the previous iteration. And what we were trying to do is capture, based on the changed language, what would have translated into the newest iteration. And that was the driving force behind it. And it's not meant to create any kind of exceptions. It's saying, you know, this is what we believe as a group is good teaching. But of course, we're going to have everyone in there. And we're still held to the standards of the entire evaluation tool. But this is just something for people to focus on, and this is what we've deemed as the important things to be evaluated on in our district.
Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome.
I actually support the focus indicators that you all pinpointed. I think they were great choices. You can't do them all, so you do need to focus, which DESE supports. And I support the ones that you guys chose. I think it's really good. Any other questions or comments? All right, I'm not seeing any golden hands, so I'd like to thank your team, Laura, all of the staff members for being here. We really appreciate the work. This is good stuff, and we appreciate it. We'll put in the consent agenda next week.
Thank you so much for consideration. And again, thank you to the committee for all their hard work and commitment. It truly was a pleasure.
I agree. All right, everybody. So we're going to move to our next item here, and that is to welcome our CPAC chairs who are joining us tonight. And I'm going to say, is it Ms. Viola? Did I say that right?
Hi.
Yay. Hi. Welcome. And I know that I saw Ms. Duggan. Pam is here as well. Yeah, there you are, Pam. So I am going to turn it over to our CPAC chairs. They're going to give us their annual update. We're so happy to have you guys here. So please take it away. And would you like us to project the presentation, or would you like to do that?
I'm gonna speak first, and then Rebecca has a presentation. So for mine, there's no presentation. So Rebecca can kind of signal when she needs that. So, all right. So good evening. I want to thank everyone, or just thank the school committee for the opportunity to speak. For anybody who doesn't know me, my name is Pam Duggan, and I'm speaking tonight as co-chair of the District Special Education Parent Advisory Council, or CPAC for short. Just briefly, in case anybody doesn't know, CPAC is required under Massachusetts law, Chapter 71B, and our role is to advise the district on matters related to special education and the safety of students with disabilities. But beyond the legal requirement, we see ourselves as a bridge, connecting families and district leadership in a productive, solution-focused way. We provide parent education, gather feedback, and promote communication and collaboration. Our mission is simple. We want families to feel informed, respected, and supported. And we want the district to have meaningful, constructive input from families it serves. Our focus is on education, engagement, and partnership. Over the past 5 years, I've worked to better understand and clarify the district's vision for the role of the CPAC through conversations with the school committee members, the superintendent, and directors of student services, both past and present. We appreciate the positive working relationships and ongoing communication we've had with district leadership. In particular, I want to acknowledge our current Director of Student Services, Roanne Demanch, for being collaborative, thoughtful, transparent, and deeply committed to supporting families, students, and staff. She consistently approaches challenges as a problem solver, and it is clear that she genuinely cares about improving programs, communication, and outcomes for the students we collectively serve. We also recognize that many of the concerns and goals we're discussing tonight align closely with the district's strategic plan, particularly the focus on communication, collaborative partnerships, family engagement, equitable opportunities, and fostering a sense of belonging for all students and families. At the same time, we still do not have a clearly defined process for how and when the CPAC is included in discussions affecting students with disabilities. Over the past school year, there have been many positive examples that demonstrate what's possible when the district and CPAC collaborate intentionally. One example is the Parent Handbook Project. Over the past several years, CPAC has worked to develop a parent handbook outlining the special education process in NRSD. Myself and the previous co-chair, Allison Heavey, led the initial development of the project. In March of 2026, a draft of the handbook was presented to Ms. Demanch for collaboration and review. In April 2026, co-chairs Pam Duggan and Rebecca Viola met with Ms. Demanch to continue collaborating on the project. An open meeting was later held to gather feedback from parents. The handbook is now with Ms. Demanch for final edits and distribution. Finally. It took us a long time. We appreciate the continued partnership with the district and hope the handbook will support parents in better understanding the special education process and the many services and supports NRSD offers students and families. I also met with the Director of Student Services in March 2026 to discuss opportunities to strengthen collaboration between the district and CPAC as the district begins revising the DCAP, the District Curriculum Accommodation Plan. That conversation also focused on increasing parent engagement and ensuring CPAC can provide meaningful parent perspective as part of that work. These examples demonstrate the value of proactive collaboration and meaningful family engagement. However, CPAC involvement still often feels inconsistent and dependent on individual relationships rather than embedded into district practice as a whole. Another challenge we've experienced is that CPAC involvement often appears viewed primarily through the special education department or student services office alone. While we value our relationship with student services, The CPAC's statutory role is to advise the district on matters affecting students with disabilities. We believe that role should include broader engagement with the district leadership and the school committee, particularly when decisions involve district-wide planning, programming, communication systems, or policy. Students with disabilities are impacted by many district-wide decisions that extend beyond student services. For example, district initiatives such as School Links raise important questions about accessibility, executive functioning support, transition planning, and equitable access. Too often, these concerns are addressed reactively at the individual student level rather than proactively during district planning and implementation. As a result, the responsibility becomes fragmented and important aspects of a student's educational experience can be overlooked. We believe CPAC can provide valuable family perspective in these broader district initiatives before challenges arise, rather than after families begin experiencing difficulties individually. The recent changes involving the RISE and LEAP program locations are one example of this broader challenge. These were significant changes affecting students and families across the district. The CPAC was informed only casually after key decisions had already been made, which limited our ability to support communication with families, identify concerns early, or help the district navigate questions and community response constructively. During the school committee meeting on April 29th, there were many thoughtful questions regarding the decisions about the RISE and LEAP programs. However, there was no discussion about CPAC consultation or family advisory input. That highlights the concern we're raising tonight. There's currently no consistent process for involving the CPAC before major decisions affecting students with disabilities are finalized. I brought these concerns directly to Ms. DeManch, and I appreciate that she was receptive to the feedback and open to discussing the issue thoughtfully. However, the broader concern remains unresolved. We still do not have a clear, consistent process for how and when CPAC will be engaged in future district decisions affecting students with disabilities. This dynamic also has a direct impact on parent engagement. Many families do not view the CPAC as having a meaningful role because they do not see opportunities for the council to participate in district planning or problem solving. As a result, participation declines and the district loses an important channel for collaboration, communication, and family feedback. The district's strategic plan specifically identifies strengthening homeschool relationships, improving communication systems, and increasing family engagement as district priorities. And we believe CPAC can play an important role in helping advance those goals. We have also struggled to understand the intended role of the school committee's CPAC liaison. While the liaison position exists to help support communication and collaboration, there's been little direct engagement with CPAC over the years and no clearly defined expectations for how the role functions in practice. Clarifying the purpose and responsibilities of that role could help strengthen communication and partnership between CPAC and the school committee moving forward. We also believe CPAC needs stronger support and visibility at the building level to encourage parent engagement. Families often develop their primary relationships with principals, guidance counselors, team chairs, special education teachers, and school-based staff. We would welcome more opportunities to collaborate with building leadership and support staff to better understand how CPAC can help engage families, strengthen communication, and support positive relationships between the schools and the families it serves. In support of these efforts, CPAC also recently developed a parent survey with input from and support from the Student Services Office. The purpose of the survey was to better understand family experiences, identify areas where parents may need additional support or communication, and help guide future collaboration between CPAC and the district. We appreciate the district's willingness to support this effort and view it as another positive example of how collaboration can help strengthen family engagement and trust. Communication is also part of this challenge. We appreciate the efforts student services and the superintendent have made to include CPAC information in district communications. However, families often receive information inconsistently, and many parents are more likely to engage through school-based communication channels, such as principal newsletters and broader district email notifications. For example, we recently hosted a virtual presentation for parents titled Supporting Executive Functioning at Home. a guide for parents of 6th to 12th grade students, presented by two very well-known doctors of the Concord Comprehensive Neurological Services over in Concord. The presentation was offered free of charge to all district families and focused on practical strategies to support executive functioning and student well-being at home. Despite being included in district communications, the superintendent's comment, no families attended, and the workshop will be rescheduled for the fall. In contrast, another CPAC-sponsored workshop held virtually on March 19th, Transition from School to Adult Life Using the IEP to Create Success, drew strong interest from families. The presentation was provided free of charge by Massachusetts Advocates for Children and focused on transition planning, student services for ages 14 to 22, Chapter 68, and Massachusetts inclusive post-secondary education opportunities. Following the workshop, I spoke with Ms. DeManch about the Massachusetts Inclusive Post-Secondary Education Program. She shared that she's familiar with the program from her previous work on Fitchburg and planned to reach out to colleges currently participating in the grant program to explore whether Nashoba students could potentially access similar opportunities in the future. These examples show both the importance of family engagement and the opportunities that can emerge through collaboration between CPAC and district leadership. It was also recently brought to CPAC's attention that during a recent Bolton town meeting, several residents expressed concerns about the town budget and the percentage allocated to school expenses. At a time when public education faces increasing financial scrutiny, it's more important than ever that the district, school committee, families, and CPAC work together to support and advocate for the educational needs of all students, including students with disabilities. Strong partnerships and transparent communication help build trust within the community and strengthen public understanding of the services and supports our students require. We want the CPAC to serve as a productive partner to the district, helping strengthen communication, build trust, identify concerns early, and support students and families. But that requires a structure that allows for meaningful consultation before major decisions are finalized. We believe stronger CPAC collaboration supports the district's broader vision of creating a safe, caring, inclusive, and collaborative community where all students and families feel connected and supported. Our goal is not to slow down progress or create conflict. Our goal is to strengthen partnership, improve communication with families, and help ensure that decisions are informed by the experiences of the students and families most directly affected. We believe the district and the CPAC ultimately share the same objective, providing students with disabilities the support, access, and educational opportunities they deserve. We respectfully ask the school committee to help establish a consistent and meaningful framework for CPAC consultation so that family perspective becomes part of district planning, communication, and shared leadership, consistent with the goals and values outlined in the district's strategic plan. This evening, Rebecca Viola will also present an overview of the parent survey findings and share additional family feedback gathered through that process. I thank you for your time and consideration. Rebecca.
Thanks, Pam. Rebecca, I just want to, can I give you, and I do not want to rush you whatsoever. I'm going to do the same thing to every group. Can we maybe say 10 minutes? Do you think that that's enough for you to give the rest of the presentation?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Go for it. And if you need somebody else to share for you, please let us know.
Okay. I sent the slides over to Alita. If she could open to the...
Alita, let me know if you are having trouble.
I've got it open. Oh, there we go.
Thanks,
Here we
Lita.
All right, so these results were gathered in April of 2026. We had the caregiver survey open for about 3 weeks. District-wide, we hoped to gather information from all levels of experience through elementary, middle, and the high school, as well as out-of-district placements. If we could have the first slide. or the second one, here we go. So we received 71 responses to the survey. You can see the breakdown by town here. Stowe came in with the most responses at about 45%, followed by Bolton with 26 and Lancaster at 25. Out of district was 2.8. If we could have the next slide. We even broke it down by specific schools. So Stowe came in with Center and Hale with about 20% each, Florence Sawyer about 18, Mary Wallinson 15, and the high school about 13. If we could have the next slide. So the first thing that we'll start with are identified strengths that families reported. The first one is commitment and dedication of individual staff. There was a lot of commentary from families about really feeling that individual educators were wonderfully supportive of their students and were really communicating how much they cared about their child's progress. And several caregivers highlighted strong relationships with teachers or specific service providers who go above and beyond. That was seen across schools and across families' experiences. So the interpretation from there was that the district really benefits from dedicated professionals who earn family trust, and these relationships are functioning as stabilizers even when the system itself can feel strained. You could go to the next strength. Secondly, families said that the collaborative tone during the meetings was something that they very much appreciated. Many respondents felt that meetings were respectful, even when outcomes were disappointing or maybe not what they were hoping for. Representative comments included meetings felt very calm and respectful and focused on the learner. Multiple respondents noted feeling genuinely listened to and felt like their input and ideas were part of the discussion, even if they did not agree with whatever the final decisions were in those IEP or 504 meetings. So our interpretation there was that the meeting culture appears much healthier than in prior years and suggesting progress in relational practices with the district. Our next strength is increasing transparency in some schools. So there was some variability across towns and schools, with some scoring higher in communication and preparation for meetings, and advanced drafts of IEPs and 504s were consistently given to families in days so that they could review materials in preparation. And representative comments included caregivers saying that getting drafts ahead of time really felt good, that they didn't feel rushed. They felt like they had the same information in front of them that the professionals and teachers had, and they felt like they were able to see a little bit more about their students' experience. And a number of comments credited building level leadership with really improving communication. So we've interpreted this as effective practices exist within the district and may be scalable if formally identified and shared throughout. So next we have some areas of improvement that families identified. We could go to the next slide. The first one, communication consistency and clarity. So what we've seen in the comments are communication and parental rights categories with much, much lower scores. Navigation confidence remains a concern for both IEPs and 504 families. A few comments that stood out was parents describing communication as reactive rather than proactive, and some families feeling like they had to constantly follow up in order to get responses to their concerns. So we interpreted this as families perceive communication as inconsistent or person-specific, a kind of going back to that. Professionals really feeling like their student needs to land with the right teacher or the right specialist in order to build that relationship, which can increase some stress and the possibility of mistrust. In addition to communication inconsistency, survey responses suggest that procedural safeguards may not be consistently explained in a way that is meaningful or memorable to families, and that this might contribute to some of that lower confidence in navigating the special ed process and concerns about whether parental input or evaluation findings are reflected in final decisions. The next area for improvement was evaluation and eligibility process frustration. Families report some confusion about decision makings or specific criteria that their learner was either meeting or not meeting. Some representative comments, including that evaluations did not fully capture their child's needs, and that eligibility outcomes were described as either poorly explained or overly technical. Some families feeling like sometimes they just weren't understanding some of the language or the concepts behind some of these ideas. So our interpretation of that was, even when teams follow regulations, families may experience the process as opaque or dismissive without clear explanations and support. Our next area for improvement was concerns about follow-through and implementation. 504 families report in particular concern about consistency. Some of the representative comments we received are caregivers noting uncertainty about whether accommodations were really being used day to day, and some families felt that accountability was unclear once the plans were finalized. We interpreted this to mean that implementation gaps can undermine trust and diminish the perceived value of these collaborative meetings. Our final area for improvement that came up from the survey is specific to support and structure of 504 plans. On average, the 504 families experienced lower levels of communication, preparation, and confidence. They also felt like they received fewer advanced drafts and a little bit less guidance in follow-up. Specific comments included parents described 504 supports as informal or easy to forget, and several noted confusion about who oversees implementation and how things are communicated through staffing. 504, we interpreted this as 504 processes may benefit from clearer ownership, documentation, and clearer family education. So finally, emerging themes just across the board for the survey was families want predictability and transparency, not just kindness. Caregivers are seeking partnership and not conflict. Parental rights may not be consistently explained in a way that's meaningful or memorable to families, kind of getting lost in kind of jargon or terminology that might not be clear. And variation between schools suggest opportunities for standardization. So based on this information that we gathered from this survey, we've decided that 3 goals or major focuses for CPAC for the following school year. We would like to be working on the communication consistency and clarity issue, procedural safeguards and parental rights, making sure that we are communicating with families and parents so that they're understanding their equal partnership in these meetings, and also building parental engagement with the CPAC group in general. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That was an exceptionally well done presentation. We appreciate that. I wonder if the committee has any questions. Jackie.
I just wanted to say I really appreciated the survey that went out. I thought it was a fantastic opportunity for families to give feedback. I know that we've done that in previous years through the CPAC, and it is very valuable data for us to have. I also think it's important that, you know, as the school committee heads into the retreat, maybe over the summer, there's just a lot of, I think, complexity around student support, special education, and making sure that families are feeling not only supported at the district level, but also in the school. And it is a challenge because there is this opportunity to get really rich feedback and input from families to collaborate with student services, but also while navigating like more individual concerns or building teacher-specific concerns and making sure that we're keeping students and their families' dignity at the forefront of those conversations. It's a tricky balance, and that sometimes some of the things that I have participated in advisories before where we want so much to have this operational input, and really maybe it would be helpful for the school committee to look at current districts and school committees that are navigating that advisory role in a really like more ideal way. Because I I know that this has been a longstanding challenge of trying to figure out how to, well before my time on the school committee for many, many, many years. And so I think that it is such an important resource, not only to the school district, but really to our families and our communities, and that there's been a tremendous amount of work put in. I also think it's very complex, and, you know, perhaps looking at exemplars would be a really good place to start as we think about like what that would look like for our regional school district.
Thanks, Jackie. I have a quick question for you guys about the survey. So 71 is not it's not everybody. I wonder if you feel like we could collect the data in a better way, or like, why do you think we only had 71?
I think it's hard to answer why the pool was so small this time around. I know that the idea has been floated to open the survey into a much longer time period, so that this one was really only given 3 weeks, honestly, to just kind of get it out there and give families the opportunity, and then quickly collect it and process data so that we could have something to present. I think that the more time and space we can give to this data collection is going to be much, much richer for what we're able to get.
Okay.
I do want to. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I want to recognize though that that the Kathy Torelli in the Student Services Office really helped to send it out several times. We did learn that. So we sent the link out, and it was in the Common. But then she sent out kind of like an email blast, like just an email to everyone. And then when she repeated it a second time, we got like 20 more responses right away. So, you know, I think that was very helpful, you know.
Okay.
But I also think that if it was coming from, again, like the school-based, because sometimes I think not everyone looks at the Common, but I think that they know that their school principal newsletter that's coming out, that's going to have stuff that's really relative to them. And we might get more of a response if it was there as well. But it's just hard for us to have to contact every principal, you know, and that's what that's what I was talking about, was just that to get more parent engagement, I really believe that we need more support at school-based level in order to be able to reach the parents.
And then my other question is, did you, or are you able to, with the current data, or perhaps it's just something you do going forward, can you pull it apart by age level?
Yes.
So you did ask that question.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I think that in my experience professionally, that parent experience and family experience really does differ from K to 12. And so I think that going forward, in order to really understand what's happening, we need a bigger sample size. So we need to work on that, and we need to help you guys do that. And then the other piece is we need to disaggregate the data so that we can better understand the challenges at the different grade levels, because special education looks really different as kids get older, for better or worse. And so that's my two immediate things. But the other thing I would say is that I think we have a lot to work with what you did gather. And I like what Jackie is saying about putting this on the to-do list for the retreat this summer. So I thank you guys for bringing it all.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that there's, because there's certain events that happen. So say a student was evaluated for an initial IEP and they weren't found eligible. It would probably, I think it would be beneficial to have a specific survey for that event. You know, to say, were you satisfied with the district's response, with how did you feel like there was enough testing done, you know, like a little bit more to kind of find out how the process is working, you know, as a whole. I think there's, beyond just breaking it down by student, I think that there's, several things. There's the annual IEP meeting, there's the, 3-year reevaluation. I think there's a lot of different places that we could work on and, come up with good data to help us to kind of figure out how the process is working.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, if I'm not seeing any other golden hands, I really appreciate everybody's thoughtful time in hearing this. And we're definitely going to have this on the agenda at the summer retreat. And Pam, would you mind emailing that presentation that you spoke to me? Would you mind sending that to me?
Sure, I can do that. No problem.
That would be great.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, to our CPAC chairs, we thank you and keep up the great work. We hope to live up to your expectations that you put down there, and we'll be in touch soon as the new school committee kind of kicks back open.
Thank you for the opportunity.
All right, everybody. So on that note, we're going to move the agenda to the next piece here, and that is a very brief Dear Jay presentation. I know, Robin, you're going to give us a little bit of an update on the trajectory here and next steps.
Yeah, so Dear Jay had put together their annual report, and it's been shared with all of you. We had chatted with the team about when should they present? And so one of the things we had thought about is, should we present at the end of the year or should we present early next year? And inclusive of that participation next year, they're going to give us a tutorial on how to use the equity tool. The equitable decision-making tool and the feedback form. And I know we've shared that a few times with the larger group here. And I know some of you have actually used the tool in subcommittee meetings. So the idea is for next year, just to continue to get that used more frequently amongst all of our subcommittee groups. So anyway, again, you can go ahead and review their presentation at your leisure. But I think the two things that we wanted to highlight in their accomplishments this year were the continued work on the decision-making tool, and then also creating that feedback form, because the committee really does believe that it's a living, breathing document, and that, as we do more within the school system and things change, being open to feedback and having that tool kind of move along as we need it to and change as we need it to over the coming years. And the other piece of their presentation was just sharing what their equity audit recommendations are. And, in thinking about the summer session, I encourage everyone to read through what those recommendations are so that when we sit down to summer session, we can talk through those and figure out how we want to implement them as we go into next school year as well. So just a huge thank you to the group, the Dear Jay advisory group as a whole. I know they put in a lot of time and effort to, have give us thoughtful advice on the things we ask them to bring forward. And, it's just a great group of folks, and look forward to seeing what the next year's brings. That's pretty much it.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Robin. Thank you to Dear Jay for that presentation in the materials. This is, again, something that we revisit every summer. Advisories, as you know, need to be reauthorized every single year, and that process can get underway. I would like to make this my official request or announcement, calling for anyone who is interested in serving on Dear Jay in the next school year to please send to me and copy Robin Palema an email that states your interest in serving on the advisory. We typically like to keep the number anywhere between 7 and 9, making sure that we have representation from all 3 towns and people with some amount of expertise in the area or professional experience. So please send to me and Robin an email of your interest and why you would be a good fit for the continuing work of the Dear Jay advisory. And then over the summer, we'll continue to kind of pour through this. Thanks, Robin. All right, everybody. So we're going to move to our next item here in new business, and that is the school improvement plan wrap-up conversation. I am trying to keep my eye on the clock, even though all of this is so important. We do need to manage our time a little bit. So, Kirk, what is your expectation here just for time before you open it up?
This is going to be inside a tight 10 for sure. Our principals are ready to go.
Okay. To our amazing principals, I will let you guys take it away and do your thing.
Yeah, I would like to bring forward our principals and or their representatives that are here tonight in no particular order because I'm working across the waffle here. Mr. Blanchard, Ms. Coppinger, Quentin Burks from Luther Burbank representing San Jose, Dr. Boynton. I'm moving along. Ms. Canton from Florence Sawyer School here for Mr. Bates as well with Principal Kyle Grady. And so I will just turn it over to the team and let our first speaker begin.
Thank you so much, Superintendent Downing, and thank you, Madam Chair, and the members of the school committee. If you want to pull up the slideshow, we want to start by taking the opportunity to thank you for giving us a chance to share the progress that we have made towards our school improvement goals this year. Our team is incredibly proud of the hard work and the dedication that drove these achievements. In this evening's presentation, we will highlight our successes, identify our ongoing challenges, and share the emerging questions that we're exploring as we look towards the work ahead. On slide 2, you'll see that our 4 shared goal areas, which have been consistent for the last 3 years across the schools, are communication, social emotional learning, professional learning communities, and safety practices and procedures. Principal Boynton.
Thank you very much, Principal Coppinger. These should look fairly familiar because I presented on these relative to our NEASC priority areas at the last school committee meeting, and our school improvement plan is required to align with our NEASC priority area goals. So our goal area 1 focused on student engagement and belonging and integration of the portrait of a Nashoba graduate competencies more seamlessly within instruction, assessment, and school culture, and that is aligned with NEASC priority area 3, and those action steps are familiar from last time. NRHS goal 2, to develop and implement a coherent, fully enacted standards-aligned curriculum, common assessments, authentic learning, equitable access to programs and pathways is aligned with NEASC priority area 2. Alita, next slide, please. NRHS Goal 3, creating equitable access to high-level courses and robust tier 1 through 3 support and instruction for all students. That is aligned with NEASC priority area 4. And then our goal for building professional culture of collaboration through professional learning communities and redesigning our schedule is aligned with NEASC priority area 5. And you can see those action steps that were shared at our last school committee meeting. And I will turn it over to Principal Blanchard.
Thank you, Dr. Boynton. So on this slide, these are some of the common things that we're seeing across schools, organized into 3 different areas: shared strengths, shared challenges, and emerging questions. Some of our strengths are commitment to equity and data-informed instructional practices, the ongoing development of our PLCs, and collaborative cultures with an increasing mutual accountability. Some of the challenges that we've seen are building distributed leadership within our PLCs, strengthening all staff's understanding of our MTSS framework, and from that, we get our emerging questions, which include how do we create more opportunities for distributed leadership in our schools, particularly within the PLC structures? How do we help staff internalize the MTSS framework that has been developed so that it becomes more embedded within our practice? And then another emerging question that's probably more aligned to specifically the elementary schools that we've been thinking about is how do we align our SEL instruction at the elementary level? And now I'll kick it over to Principal Grady.
Thank you, Principal Blanchard. So what you can see in this slide is it's a bit of a look ahead and some granular details from each of the schools. I think generally speaking, what you can see from this update is that there's remarkable consistency and purpose across all of the schools in Nashoba. And as my colleagues have already stated, we've had some tremendous gains in our improvement plans. I would say our accomplishments are noteworthy, but not worthy of effusement. There's some genuine momentum building here in a number of different areas throughout the district and also in each of our individual school improvement plans. And I would say that I think we all agree that while the road ahead is clear, the journey for our schools is far from over, and we still have quite a bit of work to do. And we'll be back, I believe, in the fall of next year to present our next version of these school improvement plans. I'm not sure if there's time for discussion or questions.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you so much. I do appreciate you guys keeping us on the great road with your thematic presentation there. That's fantastic. Does the committee have any questions about the road ahead or where we've been? Jackie.
Of course. Sorry. So I have had the experience of going through multiple school improvement plan presentations, and I think what I would love moving forward is more clarity on what are the specific goals. Like how are we actually measuring success? And the reason why I bring this up is because I think it was back in November of 2024, we had talked about the school improvement plans. And one of the things that came up was when you're implementing MTSS, having like ready to go materials that are accessible to everybody in the district is so important. And I had asked about what curriculum we were using. And I know that I remember because I wrote it down in my notes, and I was very excited that Principal Bates had said that you were using Trails to Wellness. But I think that from some of the things that I went back through to research, looking at like the MTSS handbook, then there's some embedded documents that I was able to look at. And I guess what I want to ask is, are we using consistent materials that are accessible across the district? And then if we're not, really thinking about, and I understand that this is like a massive undertaking when we are also at the same time rolling out really rigorous academic goals, equity goals. And I just had this realization that what I thought I knew, I didn't know. And I didn't know to ask. So that's one of the questions that I have, is there a tier 1 SEL shared curriculum across the school district at this time?
Kirk, yeah, you want to take that first?
Yeah, I will. And principals certainly join in. At the middle school level, for our advisory, we have the Trails curriculum that is utilized in Florence, and that actually goes a little beyond just the middle school grades. And the Wayfinder curriculum is what we're growing and exploring at Hale in Burbank, I would call. We don't have a unified curriculum across the elementaries. This is something we've talked about and that we're exploring and looking to do. As you know, you rightfully just pointed out, Dr. Reinert, that with competing agendas of lifting all of the goals that we have at the district, yeah, it has been a challenge. And in terms of coming to the time and the alignment, which is why we brought in best practices as our first step, and why we worked with Dr. Larry Epstein for 3 years, is in working and trying to build common best practices. And I think the next step is to start walking into a common curriculum across the schools. And even if it's not the exact same curriculum, because we want buy-in by our educators in each of our locations, to make sure that we're dedicating time to that. So we feel good about how we're doing that in our middle school grades, and we certainly need to expand upon that in our elementary and high school grades.
I appreciate that. I think that moving forward, one of the things that would be helpful for the team to think about when they're setting a goal for school improvement, that there are goals that feel very aspirational, and then they may feel like we're achieving them on one day and not being as successful the next. And so I just would encourage the team to really think about that. And then also, for families and for community members, people do not understand special education. They certainly are not going to really understand the nuances of RTI and MTSS, and that I understand that that is a tremendous undertaking that I have like the most profound respect for our district for taking on. And I really am eager to see more progress across all grades, because it is the foundation, right, for all the other things that come after. And that is not in any way to minimize the tremendous amount of work. So I really appreciate that. And I thank you all for that.
Dr. Reiner, that gives me an opportunity just to share, and I mentioned this a little bit at the last meeting. We are going to be working with a former special educator and former superintendent in Paul Zinni, who is going to be coming to do some training with our leaders at our retreat next year, and taking that series into the fall with it's a specific focus on being a leader of special education. And as I mentioned before, in a school system, we are all special educators. It's not just a pocket of people that work with students on IEPs. Every single employee is a special educator, and we're going to be growing that practice.
I love that notion. I'm going to go over to Principal Grady.
Thank you. I'm just put my hand down. Sorry. While there is not maybe uniformity in all of the evidence-based practices that we're using or the curriculums, I think we would all say that there is absolutely unity in the different ways we're addressing SEL, in the sense that all of our programs are rooted in some common themes based on the competencies that are embedded in, whether it be Trails program. And in the middle school level, we are exploring maybe some hybrid versions. There's some differences in the students before us and what their needs are. We are at different places, but you can see in our presentation and in our past data that there's been a lift of SEL in all of our schools. And it's been a central focus, whether it's a home base or an advisory program. And I know that just this summer, there's a number of my colleagues are running some work with teaching and learning during our summer academy to really revise and review the work that we're doing in SEL and with our advisories to lift up next year a more robust version that supports our students' needs. But like Superintendent Downing said, we are in different places, but it is a core and central pillar in our 4 goals of our school improvement plan.
Thanks so much, Kyle. I know that at the last meeting, we made a request of Kirk to bring the wrap-up surveys to our summer retreat to help us understand, because we had the mid-year SEL survey data, and then we're hoping to also understand the end-of-year survey data, which is not yet ready. Kirk, are you guys collecting that data soon?
Yeah, we're in our benchmarking window. That's specifically the universal screeners. So we're wrapping up universal screeners, I think this week, Ms. Friend. So yeah, we'll be happy to report back on some of those at the retreat.
Yeah, so we're gonna be able to look at that as well to get an idea. I would say that it's very difficult to build school improvement plans that are similar for the elementary schools, the middle schools, and the high schools. I appreciate that you guys are trying to create that through line. I think that the high school, does the high school have PLCs yet?
Not currently. We're organized by department, and that is the plan to implement next year.
Great. And so I think that, you know, we are in very different places. I think that there are some structural obstacles in place at this point in time that almost prevent those tier 1 programs from being built out at a pace that we would want it to be built out. I'm sure all the educators would feel the same way. Time. So finding time to do this is essential. And we need to have the structures in place that will allow us the time to build these things out, because it does not happen magically. Educators need time. And so eliminating as many of the structural obstacles as we can is essential. And that's what I think this school committee really is interested in, seeing happen sooner than later, so that the groundwork that you've been laying with all the training can actually start touching the ground with the kids in a really, really thoughtful and strategic way, especially up into the high school where, you know, those kids are almost away from us, and we need to get at that. Anybody want the last word? Are we feeling okay with this?
So, Madam Chair, if I can join in, first of all, just thanking all of our principals and our assistant principals and our deans for coming this evening to participate and be a part of this. And the second piece is I hear that desire coming from the school committee. We'll want to be thoughtful in our agenda planning for next year, because I think the kind of comprehensive reporting that you're asking for can't be executed in a 10-minute presentation. It will require more expectations and thought. So if that's the expectation that is shifting for us, we're happy to meet that need.
Thank you. Thank you to all of the principals, the assistant principals. We appreciate the late night that you've dedicated here. Some of you are still at the office. We hope you guys get home and have some dinner. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. So we have only a few things left here. We have about 15 minutes, and I think that we can do it. We're going to jump back up to the superintendent's report. And Kirk, can you, shy of the social media update, can you provide us with the rest?
Yep, happy to do so. Well, the next item is the AVC update number 4. What you have in your meeting materials is a presentation that I had the opportunity to listen to as a board member of the AVC collaborative that outlines the budget for the 26-27 school year. This is not a school district budget. This is the AVC budget. I'm essentially bringing it to you to show this is the work that happens in the collaborative. And I think we're in a positive trajectory at the collaborative. And you can note that in what the audited fund balance was in 2025. Where there were some difficult times with budgetary concerns in terms of declining audited balances over the years. We're trending in the right direction overall in the collaborative. And next, I'll ask Mr. Mulcairn to give us a brief update on an update on the food services contract.
Thank you, Superintendent Downing, and thank you to the school committee for allowing us this time for a brief update. As the committee is aware, we did receive one response to our RFP for food service management. Yesterday, the district administration and legal counsel met with leadership and members of the Nashoba Regional Educators Association to discuss the implementation and impact of the potential contract. As stated at prior meetings, the contract would allow current employees to stay employees of the district unless they otherwise choose to work for the food service management company. We will be scheduling a follow-up meeting between the two parties to review information prior to a contract being put forward before the school committee for potential action. Thank you.
Next on our list is the assistant principal hiring update for Center School. I know there's a summary there, but Principal Coppinger has been hosting 2 finalists this week, and I look forward to bringing an announcement soon on our new assistant principal that'll be joining us in Stowe at the center school. And last of all, there's a paragraph with our school choice update. We collected all of our responses, and we did conduct a few lotteries this past Tuesday. We were happy to have Mr. Bates come and also Ms. Hannigan come as our witnesses. We actually even had a pair of grandparents come, and they were very happy to find out that their grandchild was actually not part of the lottery. So that was quite great. Lovely folks. So what I will begin with is for students that we had to conduct a lottery, 3 lotteries. There were 9 in 3rd grade for the third grade spots at Mary Rowlandson Elementary. 4 students were selected, and the remaining 5 were placed on a waiting list in the order in which they were picked. There was 1 applicant each for 4th grade at Florence Sawyer and Center School. Both students have been awarded that seat. In grade 6, all 3 applicants were accepted with 1 seat still remaining. Excuse me, I meant to say that was at Hale School. So a lottery is conducted for 6th grade at Luther Burbank Middle School for the 8 applicants. Same thing, 4 were awarded, 4 were on the wait list, and they will be given the option to fill the final seat in Hale in order of which they came. 4 students applied for 7th grade seats, 2 at Luther Burbank, 2 at Florence Sawyer School. So those students have been awarded their seats. And finally, we were able to award 3 seats to 11th and 12th grade anticipated students. And in the 9th grade, we had 9 applicants and 4 were awarded seats. The committee did ask that I bring that number back once we had that prior to June 1st, so that you can consider the question of if you should open up the 9th grade to 9 seats prior to the June 1st limitation that we have. I will share with the committee that with these 4 students that have been guaranteed a seat in school choice, that puts us at an estimated level of 200 students. We have an estimated 196 coming with 4 more students. So if you were elect to allow 5 more students to come in via school choice, we're well below what our self-imposed ceiling of 220 students for school choice would be. And so with that, Madam Chair, this is an item that you would have to vote on tonight, considering that we need to do this prior to June 1st.
Understood. And that is down below in the agenda asking or prompting us to vote, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
That is in the unfinished business.
Okay. Guys, do you have any questions on the superintendent's report, any aspect of it? Scott, did you want to ask a question? Nope. Okay. Good to go. All right, everybody, I'm going to allow the unfinished business to roll, and we can talk about the school choice option when we get there. So moving on to, we are going to leapfrog finance and operations. There's nothing new to report there, as we already talked a little bit about things related. Let's go down now to the school committee goal reflection. And if you guys don't mind, I actually have the spreadsheet that I can share. And we are going to power through this because we have chair people who are rolling off the committee. And we want to make sure that we have everything accounted for. So let's start with budget and warrant. Here you have our proposed 2024-2026 goal cycle. And end of year reflection. Scott, do you want to just kind of quickly summarize what you believe the committee has, not only the subcommittee, but the committee as a whole has accomplished?
We didn't want to overwrite column H, so we put our commentary in column I.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This guy here.
Yep.
All right, go for it.
You want me to talk about it?
Yeah, you can just give us a brief summary. Do we meet our goal?
We met some, we have some work to do in others. That's kind of the short.
So that's a good short version. Which is which?
Let's see. more work connecting the subcommittee actions and goals to the strategic plan going forward. So we kind of didn't do the best job of connecting our goals with the strategic plans. We think we should do that better in the future. But many of the committee members do feel that they did their best to communicate with the township and reach out to the members of the community. So, that's kind of where we're at.
All right, great. Guys, this, by the way, is meant to inform us as we go forward. The work is never done. So we appreciate that feedback, budget and warrant. Thank you. And then policy, what do you think? Jackie, do you want to give us an update on how you feel like we did?
Yeah, I was actually just pulling this up. I feel like that we continue to meet our goal. I think that continuing to policy is often a reactive model. We get updates and then make our changes. I do think that moving forward, really being able to, really be proactive. I think that some of those conversations have already started this year with Superintendent Downing and the policy subcommittee. And so I would just encourage future policy subcommittee chairs to have those conversations, because not only do we want to meet Mass General Law and make sure that our policies reflect our practice. We've had a lot of really good, rich conversations as a school committee around maintaining our voice as a district in our policies. And so I think continuing to prioritize that moving forward will be very important.
Excellent. Thanks, policy. Let's go to communication. Amy, do you want to lead us here?
Sure. So we met our goals this year. I think we did a really good job. We met with the student council twice, although I think, going forward, we could do a better job of thinking about the timing and the topics that we're giving the student council to work on, and making sure that they fall within our purview, so that the work that they're doing feels meaningful to them and impactful for everyone. We did a survey that informed a new website, a redesigned website for the school committee. We thought going forward that survey should be reissued every year, just to gauge how the new website design is working for people, and that the communication subcommittee should be responsible for making sure the links are active and that it's still relevant. Same with the school committee orientation manual, that should probably be checked on an alternating year basis or something agreed upon, sometimes schedule agreed upon by the future committee. But that should also stay within the communication subcommittee's responsibilities. I also just want to point out that I linked some documents that our subcommittee put together so that they're not lost when committee membership changes. So that's there for future committees. And we made sure that the ownership of those documents stays with people who are staying on the committee, since I'm
okay. I don't have access, but do you want it to be viewable to everybody or just the committee people?
I just gave you access, Leah.
Yeah, Shandor is the owner now, so we can fix that.
All right. Thanks, Shandor. All right. Well done, communication. Thank you very much for your work. Personnel, I know that we haven't actually done the hard work yet. That's next. But what is your update for us, Robin?
I think we did a good job this year. We got 10 responses on the survey, so that was quite high. And I also think that the tool, thanks to John and throwing out there that there's got to be an easier way. And thank you, Leah, for putting together the Google worksheet. But when it, all the feedback came in, it really was a nice tool to have. So you guys can all rate the evaluation, but I think we did really well.
I found it far easier to complete the evaluation this year because of the survey tool than ever before.
Good.
So yeah, I agree. Great idea, John, and the whole personnel committee. And Robin, you completed the composite. It's in the materials. That was a huge undertaking. Thank you for that as well. Can I ask you a loaded question? In the survey results, did you notice that whether it be Gemini, I don't know who was doing it, but did you notice an AI summary tool that was happening in the survey?
Yes.
Did you find it useful to kind of springboard from it?
Yes, absolutely. And I did. But you had to read through it. It was a great summary, but then, so when you read it and then you went through and read the comments, there was some wordsmithing that we did because it just needed to be done. So yes, huge, helpful launching point, but definitely something that needs to be done in detail.
Excellent. Okay, so Dear Jay, how did we do with this? And Matt and Robin, you can jump in at any point in time. I know that some of this stuff is outdated, but not completely. So how did we do with meeting our goals here?
I mean, I think what I saw for the last few meetings that I participated in is I think the team, the Dear Jay team, has built a really great tool. I think the frustration with that team now is that they need us to implement the use of the tool. And so, it's a ongoing concern and a discussion point at every meeting is, now that we've built it, why aren't you using it and providing feedback? And I think that is one of the reasons why we want to start fresh with Dear Jay coming in and presenting that tool and teaching us how to use the tool and the importance of the tool, so it resonates a little bit more as we move into the next year. And they've talked a bit about using that tool even beyond the school committee. If people find it useful, how do we, broaden it to the larger school community? So,
excellent.
What I've been mostly involved in is the tool.
All right, that's good information. Negotiations is underway, as you guys know, and almost complete. But unfortunately, we're going to be having one of our subcommittee members from Lancaster roll off. In our last conversation at the negotiations meeting, we did not think it was a good idea to pull a new person in. And so Matt and I will finish the job as Jackie rolls off. And Jackie, we appreciate all of your energy and effort and time there. Scott, what do you think about audit advisory?
Oh, sorry, I wasn't prepared for that.
That's okay. But I mean, you're presenting you have your group coming to present next week.
It's in 2 weeks.
Or 2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, we just met today to come over the report. I actually think it's a good group. I mean, it got up to a slow start this year, but it's actually made good progress as far as adhering to the agreement and reviewing the work. And I think it'll be with the continuation of the same members next year. I think we'll be well positioned to have a really good year next year.
Awesome. All right, this is good stuff to work with as we go to set our goals for the next time, not to mention all the other things I've taken notes on and the things we heard earlier today. But I think that the one thing that resonates with me is, I think Scott said it, that we really do need to have the strategic plan speak through these goals even more as we go and we try to deepen the work. So more to come on that.
Madam Chair?
Yes, sir.
If I can seize the opportunity for the school building committee.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was not even on here.
We're on time and within budget.
Oh, very good.
The two important goals for a school building committee: on time, within budget.
Yep. Agreed.
9 o'clock.
Yeah. So we have, a very important task yet to do. Can I get a thumbs up if everybody can give me 15 more minutes? You're the best. You're the bestest committee ever. I know it's late, but let's do this because we have some important work left to do. It's really only a couple of unfinished business items here. And let's first talk about the superintendent summative evaluation. And Robin, I'm going to let you kick this off. The material, or the document is in the meeting materials. So what can you tell us?
Yeah, so The tool, like I said before, was excellent. It was, Sharon and John and I got together and really, it was quite clear, once people put in their vote, give you a nice pie chart of where everybody kind of felt that superintendent landed with the goal, the progress towards goals. Some of the results, Sharon and John and I had to spend time kind of splitting hairs to figure out where we land. But I think as you go through the evaluation, it very much lines up with where Kirk has rated himself in terms of progress towards goals. A lot of these you'll see in goals 1 through 6. You'll either see significant progress has been made, and in a couple of occasions the goals have been met. And we went through and tried to give, having not done this before, trying to give little snippets of information that were gathered from the comments that people made, and also recommendations if there were any referenced in there as well. And then again, it kind of steps for step 2, assessing performance to stay on standards. That kind of changes the scale to either unsatisfactory, needs improvement, proficient, or exemplary. And again, you'll see in this feedback that you will either see that the committee believed that things were done proficiently, or if the performance was exemplary. And again, I don't know if you want me to get in and kind of mine out all of these details, probably not. But the overall rating that we gave is exemplary. And again, I think as you kind of look back through the evaluation, and Sharon and John, please jump in as well. But as we were looking at the goals that were completed, and it's made reference of it, with other people's comments within the feedback as well, is that a lot of these goals may very likely be on the goals for the next year to 2 years, right? They are goals that are constantly in motion. And even though they haven't yet been met, there has been this great effort to achieve these goals and, bring up the level of education that the kids in our school system are getting. So, even though, things aren't saying met, there is just a ton of effort and a ton of time that has been put to make this significant progress towards these goals. So that's why, looking holistically at everything that's been put out and the evidence that Kirk had provided, we came at, towards to the end of the evaluation said, we believe that Kirk and the full team have done an exemplary job over the course of the last 2 years.
All right, I thank you for that, Robin. It's useful information. I'm going to give it over to the committee now for any feedback, because as you know, guys, the personnel subcommittee does build the composite evaluation for us that gets submitted to DESE. But if you have any question marks, or if you think that something might be off base, now is the time for you to voice that. You can also just log a note. You don't want to necessarily change anything in the composite, but you want to put something on the record that's fair as well. So I think I saw Scott's hand first.
Yeah. I first I want to thank the Personnel Committee. I know this is no easy task to pull this together, and so I appreciate your efforts in pulling all this together. And I also want to say that, I think Kirk is an excellent superintendent. He deserves all the praise in this document, and it oftentimes does an exemplary job in his job performance. However, I don't understand how the overall performance comes out as exemplary when many of the subcategory ratings came out as proficient. So the math just didn't add up to me as far as the overall rating is concerned.
Sharon or Robin or John, do you want to speak to that at all?
And I will try to speak to that.
Go right ahead.
I think that when you look at those in that first section, those first 6 goals, those are not small goals. Those are heavy lift goals. And if you are, we spent a lot of time going around and around about this. If you go strictly by the data, then the data says the goals are, what's that rating, Robin? That middle one. significant progress. And so that's where it landed. But we also recognize that these are the goals, especially at this point, the goals that were easy and quick to achieve have been achieved. And the ones that we are working on now are the ones that are very, they're meatier goals. They need time, they need a whole system to be moving together. And that is, I don't know, can somebody come up with a better word than heavy lift? Because that's the only one I have right now. And so that is where we landed on some of those ratings coming in, or as, help me out, significant progress.
Significant progress.
But overall, the work that has been done is outstanding. It's exemplary, because we recognize the level of effort and commitment that has gone into getting us to the place where we are. And we commend the superintendent on getting us to this place.
And I think what makes it confusing too is the change of language, right? So the first 6 goals you're looking at, as I said before, are you making, significant progress? That's not asking for a proficient or an exemplary. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's kind of one of the things we picked apart is, yes, there's more proficient than exemplaries in the second section of the report, but in the first 6 goals, that's, to Sharon's point, that significant progress made on the first 6 goals took exemplary work from Kirk and his full team to get that progress. Like, trying to kind of mesh the terms together, I guess, to make sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Any other feedback or questions? Amy?
Yeah, I'm trying to formulate my comment, and I think I had the same question as Scott. And I like the way he worded it. While I agree that much of the work that Superintendent Downing has done is exemplary, it just didn't, because I have such an analytical brain, it didn't line up with the ratings above it. I think for me, one of the challenges for doing the superintendent evaluation every year is that the goals are so aspirational and ambitious that I always struggle with how to rate the superintendent, because they are goals that require many, many years over a long term to meet. So I guess going forward, and I think other committees have said this over the years, there should be some consideration given to formulating goals that are structured more to short-term goals and long-term goals, because I think it would make it easier for us to measure progress towards meeting things within the time frame that we're looking at the work that's done. My other comment is that I think a lot of when you read the guidance on what category to choose, a lot of it has to do with the evidence that's presented. And I think as a general comment, we could do a better job of asking for more specific evidence of demonstrating progress from each goal. But I'll vote. I will be voting in favor of this evaluation, and I just want to say thank you to Superintendent Downing for the exemplary work that you've done over the years for Nashoba Regional School District.
I'll give my opinion and say that I'm also going to be voting in favor of this. I do also think that the superintendent and his team has done exemplary work. I will say this because I just want to put it on the record, and this is for going forward. I don't know if you guys can hear all the frogs outside. It's actually crazy. I think that a lot of the work that is being done at the top level is exemplary. There are still problems with it touching the ground and having students feel it and experience it. And so that's, I think, where we need to go next time. Show me that kids are feeling this. Show me that kids are experiencing the instructional strategies, the assessments that are varied, the diversified instructional strategies. I need to see, like, the portfolio work. I need to see that all students are getting that that instruction on the ground. And so whereas the portfolio is so aspirational, it's so lofty, the portrait of a learner, all of the things that we're doing with regard to that, there's still many students who don't know what it is. And so how can we make sure that all of the exemplary work that is being done is actually penetrating through the many layers of our system all the way down to the kids? That's what I'm looking for next time. But I am voting in favor of this because I think that without Kirk and his team driving this district toward excellence and helping all of our educators prosper, that we would be nowhere without it. So I thank you guys. Any other comments? All right, I am going to make a motion to accept the composite evaluation as contained in the meeting materials. Do I have a second?
Second it.
Thanks, Amy. Any further discussion? Let's go around the room. Myself, yes. Amy?
Yes.
Sharon?
Yes.
Robin?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Lindsay?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Jackie?
Yes.
Shondor?
Yes.
And Matt?
Yes.
All right, Alita, you can file it with Desi. Thank you so much to the Personnel Subcommittee for all of that important work and to the superintendent's team, as always. Moving the agenda to the last item here, and we have 60 seconds or less. We have a school choice vote to consider. Is there a motion to extend our freshman school choice offerings to the number of 9?
I will move that.
I'll second that. What discussion might there be? All right, so it looks like we might have be ready for a vote. So Amy?
Yes.
I vote yes. Robin?
Yes.
Jackie?
Yes.
Shondor?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Sharon?
Yes.
Lindsay?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
And John?
Yes.
I hope we just made 5 people's nights. Welcome to Nashoba, people. It's a great place to be. So subcommittee report outs, I think we've already done that. Items for the next agenda. There is no next agenda. We will be finding many of you at the organizational meeting on June 10th. But for one last time, I want to say thank you so much to Jackie, John, and Amy. You guys are the best. Thanks for your service. I'm going to move to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
No, you have to let Amy second it.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Amy. Vice Chair Amy.
I'll second that for the last time.
All right. So I'm going to take the vote. Amy?
Yes, and goodbye.
Jackie?
Yes, and thank you all.
John?
Yes, and thank you.
All right. I vote yes. Lindsay?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Sharon?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Robin?
Yes.
Did I get everyone?
Yes.
Shondor! Thank you, Shondor. Hey, Amy, Jackie, and John, we all know where you live, so you can't escape us.
Cheers.
That sounded scary.
Good job. Yeah, John, I know where you live.
My school committee retirement. I go. Goodbye.
Cheers.
Bye, Amy. Bye, Jackie. Bye, John. Bye, everybody.